Hey y'all, it's Diane Bays, the #1 quester and founder of How Big is Texas? Welcome to my neck of the woods in beautiful Northeast Texas, where the oak woods and prairies converge with the piney woods. How Big is Texas started in 2020 as we were coming out of the pandemic. I decided to drive the perimeter of the Lone Star State with a couple of friends, and I've been traveling the back roads and the highways ever since to experience big miles, big tastes, and big adventures. While this podcast is for your enjoyment, it's also for my amusement and to share a little something about the Lone Star State and my adventures and observations along the way. Thanks for listening. Now let's get started with today's Texas Quest. With the upcoming 5th anniversary of How Big is Texas, I decided it was time to get back to my podcast. Life, work, and relocation put a pause on it for a while. A couple of years ago, we made the move from San Angelo in West Central Texas to the Tyler area about 5.5 hours east. Yes, in the Lone Star State, we measure our distances in hours. We've got counties bigger than Rhode Island, and the state totals nearly 270,000 square miles. In comparison, our smallest state, also known as Little Rhodey, is a little over 1,500 square miles. And for those of you who might be listening in Alaska, don't pitch a hissy fit. I recognize your state is more than twice the size of Texas, but only 20% is accessible by road, and most of it is uninhabited. You may even be able to see Russia from your house. Heck, some people in Texas can see Mexico from theirs. It's all good. If this podcast was about which state was bigger, Texas or Alaska, our far north friends would be the winner. But it's not about the last frontier state. It's about the Lone Star State. I tell you this because a few months ago, I shared a map of my perimeter tour around Texas on Facebook. It was a map with push pins at every town we passed through on our trip. It was meant to be a fun thing to share. A number of Alaskans who came out of the woodwork to tell me their state was bigger, Lord have mercy, it was crazy. Some of them were about as friendly as fire ants. So many Alaskans were being ugly that I had to block them. I mean, this was a page about Texas where I shared a map about Texas, and I only talk about Texas. It shouldn't be hard to figure out it's not about Alaska. I was fixing to go off on them, but instead I just blessed their hearts. I figured it likely had something to do with those months of darkness they have to tolerate every year. That would max out my fun meter too. I'd turn from being a fragile flower to mean as a rattlesnake pretty fast. But I digress. As they say in Western movies, meanwhile, back at the ranch. As a 5th-generation Texan, I'm proud of my roots. I'm back in the area where those roots started for me and my family in the late 1830s. When my 3rd great-grandfather arrived, Texas had just earned its independence from Mexico and had become a republic. George Washington Stone was his name. I'm not kidding. I can't even think of a more American name than that. After George settled in with the family, Texas joined the Union, becoming the 28th state in 1845, and the rest, as they say, is history. God bless Texas. I started this podcast for the same reason I started my blog, How Big is Texas? I love my home state. I think John Steinbeck said it best in his book, Travels with Charlie in Search of America, where he described Texas as a mystique closely approximating a religion. Do I bow down and pray to the Lone Star? Not at all, but I am proud to have been born in Texas and to be a 5th-generation Texan. Some have compared the state pride that many Texans feel to arrogance. They might even say we're too big for our britches. I disagree, as any good Texan would. Why isn't it okay to be proud of where you're from? I would hope people wherever they're born would want to share that pride. For those who love Texas, you'll understand. And for those who don't, well, first, why are you listening to a podcast about Texas? And second, it ain't bragging if it's true. I've lived in almost every region of Texas and I've visited almost every county. I only have 3 left to go and hope to see those this year so I can say I've been to all 254. Now, some have asked me why I'd want to do that, so let me tell you. I lost a friend in 2015 due to an extended illness. We talked about many things before she passed. We talked about things we wanted to do and places we wanted to visit. She was never able to do most of the things we talked about. I decided when she left us I would choose to live my dash. Your dash is the space between the day you were born and the day you die. The dash is everything. She lived hers for more than 50 years, and I sure do miss my friend Susan Q. I loved her more than my luggage. I was a couple of months away from turning 55 when I drove around Texas. The trip took 9 days, only because we stopped a lot to visit with friends and family along the way, and it covered more than 3,300 miles. It could have been more, but we stayed on only paved roads because nobody wanted to change a flat or have car trouble on a deserted road in the middle of nowhere. We weren't born yesterday, after all. So much has happened since that trip. I've visited and taken pictures of thousands of places in Texas, both large cities and small towns. My best friend from high school joined me to see 34 Buc-ee's in Texas over 4 days. We ate all our meals from the amusement park of convenience stores. You know, the one where you get those billboards fed to you while you're driving along the highway offering clean bathrooms, and you walk out an hour later with drinks, eats, and Christmas gifts for the whole family. Before our trip, people told us we couldn't find anything healthy to eat there, so we told them to hold our sweet tea. We made our own Texas charcuterie using only foods from Buc-ee's like celery and carrot sticks, grapes and honeydew melon, a variety of cheese, and some sausage and world famous beef jerky. We even classed it up one night and did our own beaver nugget and nuggy pairing with Texas wines, the only thing we didn't get from the store. Since that trip, 3 new stores have opened in Amarillo, Hillsboro, and Luling. They're pretty spread out, but it looks like a new road trip is in order. I'm excited to once again hear that Buc-ee's favorite phrase, fresh brisket on the board. If you know, you know. I've gone on some fun trips over the past 5 years since I started How Big is Texas? I visited Sweetwater, where I actually let a snake wrangler hold the head of a live rattlesnake and place the slithering body around my shoulders at their annual Sweetwater rattlesnake roundup. I gotta say, it wasn't my favorite thing to do, as I'm not a fan. My heart didn't stop racing for 15 minutes after that. It was a one and done experience for me, or in the words of my friend Susan Q, I can't be having me none of that. I've visited the sites around Texas that played a huge role in the history of our state, like the Alamo, the San Jacinto Monument, and Washington on the Brazos. I chose to visit them on Texas Independence Day, which falls on March 2nd. Unlike the rattlesnake experience, I would definitely do that again. I've traveled to some of the most mispronounced towns and cities in Texas and even asked the locals how to pronounce them correctly, like Bernie, Buda, and Burnett, darn it. I've climbed the winding and rocky terrain of Hancock Hill and Alpine in far west Texas so I could scribe in the notebook found in the desk the students at Sul Ross State University placed there years ago. They claim it was so they could have a quiet place to study, but once you've seen that view, there's a little bit of learning being done. I've visited both Stonehenge replicas. Yes, Texas has 2. One in Odessa and the other one in Ingram. I've made it to the top of Enchanted Rock near Fredericksburg in the middle of a hot August day with no water. I don't recommend that one, even if you have water, unless you wait until fall, spring, or even winter. Texas summers can be hot enough to scald a lizard. I even made my own Best of Texas barbecue list with the help of my followers on Facebook. If I learned one thing in that endeavor, it's that Texans are serious about their barbecue, and we have a lot of good grub in this state. At the end of 2023, my husband built me an official International World headquarters in our backyard. It resembles the old store and filling station my great-grandfather once ran outside the small town of Troop in Smith County, Texas. You might wonder why I named it International. The headquarters is smack dab in the middle of roads that lead to Paris, Athens, Geneva, Naples, and Carthage, to name a few. All Texas towns, of course. The headquarters is filled with Texas treasures, some gifts and some of my own finds. Going in, surrounded by all things Lone Star State, feels like getting a warm hug. If I had my druthers, I could sit there till the cows come home. One of my favorite traditions I've started since creating How Big is Texas is our annual New Year's Eve ball drop. I made the ball out of clear Solo cups, lit it, and added a little bling to make it shine. We drop it every year from a makeshift flagpole. The first one we took place on December 31st, 2020, from my old headquarters in San Angelo. I shared it on social media, and NBC News saw it and shared it with the world. That one was epic. I have some plans this year, aside from visiting all 254 counties. I want to finish visiting all the Texas state parks. I only have 15 left of the 89 existing parks, so I think I can do it this year. A free plug to the park system. If you haven't purchased a park pass, I highly recommend it. Wherever I decide to start with living my dash in 2025, I'll share it with you as I explore Texas. I hope you'll come along for the ride. I also plan to interview friends across the state and get them to share their stories too. Let me know what you'd like to hear about. How Big is Texas isn't only about the size of the state. It's also about the size of the hearts of the people who live here. It's about the stories of the ordinary and extraordinary Texans. It's about big miles, big taste, and big adventures. I hope to live here the rest of my life, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Thanks for joining me on my quest to answer the question, how big is Texas? You can follow me on social media at How Big is Texas or on my blog, howbigistexas.com. If you like this podcast, please take the time to give me a Texas-sized friendly review. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, from Texas, safe travels.